Hello and welcome to Randomer Nintendo 20. I am Jason and I said the name correctly this time, unlike last time. And on my virtual left and virtual right, we have Angel and Kevin. You guys tell me, what side of me are you standing on or sitting on or laying on today?
In front at a 45-degree angle above you. Facing you.
Interesting. Are you hovering?
Yeah, it's like a platform that's just kind of tilted down towards you at a 45-degree angle.
I see.
Yeah.
Like one of Rihanna's stages from the Super Bowl halftime show. You are Rihanna, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
What about you, Kevin? Where are you in the world?
I think I am in some other dimension, and there's like a portal that opens up every now and then, so I can peek into what's going on in your dimension.
Man, is this the moment that Randomer Nintendo jumps into the multiverse and follows every other media property into the multiverse? Is this happening?
You know what?
Maybe.
Have we got a full multiverse?
Into the multiverse is coming out soon. I mean, that's something to be excited about for a lot of people.
I saw Quantumania yesterday. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it, but I didn't hate it as a lot of people.
It's not bad. No,
is MODOK as bad as people say?
No,
No. They made an interesting CG choice with his face. Like they literally just stretched the guy's face.
Yeah, but then like he also has
model.
a mask that looks really cool. So
yeah. Well, let's get into that. Actually, we haven't talked about Marvel movies in a while. We've talked about a lot of other things. We haven't talked about Marvel movies. So what is your take on Quantumania? It's not as bad as people say, but it's not good.
I mean that's pretty much all I have to say about it. It's very forgettable.
Well, that was a great.
I'm never gonna watch that movie again.
How familiar are you with Tron, Kevin? With Tron Legacy in particular?
I have seen Tron Legacy, yeah.
It's the same plot.
Oh,
Almost
wow.
exactly. Yeah. Replace going into the quantum realm with going into the grid in a computer, and replace the little quantum realm people with, the avatars in Tron. There you go. Same basic plot.
Fun.
Yeah. I will say it's a very weird way to introduce a big new bad to the entire MCU was through that movie.
Yeah.
Where he gets defeated by Ant-Man.
In the Ant-Man movie of all things, yeah. It definitely felt
and
out of
technically, he also, I mean, I know it's technically not him, but isn't He Who Remains also technically him? And he was like already killed? Spoiler alert, I guess.
You talk about Kang?
No. Yeah, Kang. Yeah, because then he also
I don't know what...
Essentially, it sounds
he was in Loki. Different one of him was in Loki.
Yeah, yes. But I mean, essentially, it sounds like they introduced their big bad twice, and quote unquote, he died twice already. So it's like,
and then they did. You know what? We're gonna go full spoiler 3 minutes into the podcast. The post-credit scene of Ant-Man Quantumania, they made Kang the most cartoony, whatever you all call him. Like it had such an opposite effect of Thanos. I don't know. Like Thanos was never like I didn't leave Iron Man 1 or whatever and be like, whatever, when Thanos first popped up. He was just mysterious, oh my God, so scary. But like Kang was like, they went comedic with him very quickly, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. I felt like Guardians 3 had a better bad guy than Kang. Personally.
Yes.
Yeah. Who here, show of hands in a space where we can't see each other, who here has seen Guardians 3? I know I have. I know you have, Kevin. Angel, have you?
Eventually.
Do you
care to watch
Guardians
future you?
Wait,
what was that?
Do you care to watch Guardians 3?
Not in a timely fashion. Probably in the amount of time it took me to watch Guardians 2, which was a couple years after Guardians 2 came out.
So if we talk about it at any depth here,
I know
for listeners out there, skip this segment if you haven't.
I know
seen
everything that happens. I watch kind of like a
let's
like a detailed play-by-play. So it's almost like I've seen it.
What did you think of it, Kevin?
I really, 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 really liked it. I don't know if I loved it. Me too. But I really, really liked it.
Are we in agreement that's better than Guardians 2?
No.
Whoa. You're the first person I've talked to that feels not that way.
Because I love Guardians.
I thought it was better than 2.
Wait, I thought Guardians 2 was supposed to be a low point.
I don't care what anybody says. I love Guardians 2.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of an opinion. Yeah. Did you feel the animal stuff in Guardians 3 was a little superfluous? A lot of people feel that way, and it's actually stopping some people from seeing the movie. Like the degree of what they showed.
I don't know if it's superfluous, but it was fine, I guess. Didn't bother me.
Yeah, like it. Yeah, it didn't bother me personally too much, but I thought it. You know, it was interesting. I was having lunch with someone today, and they were like, "Yeah, like the movie, like Guardians is such a fun franchise, and it's so like breezy, and there's some serious stuff, but it's very like lighthearted." And then they had like all these like mechanically enhanced animals and stuff, which I thought, it made the point of Rocket being experimented on and whatnot, but they really showed it. Like, they showed straight up, like, animals getting killed directly in front of your face on the screen. It was like, oh, okay.
It feels weird to talk about a movie from someone's perspective because, I've only seen clips and recaps, sort of, but it sounds like, you kind of do get why Rocket, at least in the first two movies, like, he really breaks down whenever he talks about, like, I never forget. I don't remember if it was part 1 or part 2, but he basically is yelling out like, "Oh, they tore me apart and put me back together and tore me apart." And
yeah.
I remember thinking like, "Oh man, like it sounds like he has a really dark backstory. I wonder if we're ever going to see that." And it kind of sounds like they delivered, just based on some impressions from other friends. It's like, damn, like it got dark. Like,
it got dark. It got sad. It got like emotional. There were times I was like, because I was with one of our friends, and there's times I was like, "Oh, I can't let him see me cry." Like, it was like. It was sad. It had, it really hit a lot of emotional beats. It was, in many ways, James Gunn's send off to the MCU as a whole, because he's now off doing DC. But yeah, it really, like, there's some really good character development. It was good. Yeah, I really liked it. But
so
yes,
is
it
this
got
in
sad,
a way
it
like
got gritty. It got
So maybe it's not, but does it feel like it was more Rocket's movie than anyone else's, or did it still feel
no,
kind of evenly balanced out, or still Star-Lord? Because he's kind of the main character, I guess.
Yeah, they did a series of flashbacks about Rocket throughout the movie, and they would intersperse those with stuff with other characters. It had a lot of closure for a lot of characters. I think Rocket probably was the focus, but like it wasn't only a Rocket movie. Rocket, just his backstory was kind of the thread through the whole thing, but they definitely, gave growth and closure to a lot of the crew, I'd say. Right, Kevin? Like, it feels like everyone got like some moments, right?
Yeah, everybody definitely got their moment.
Yeah.
Quick spoilers, there is a No Sleep Till Brooklyn needle drop.
Yes. Yes.
That is
the one from the Mario movie?
Yes.
Yes, the hit song from the Mario movie, and not the Beastie Boys, but the Mario movie. Yes.
It's probably one of the best scenes in the MCU, in my opinion.
It's so well shot.
Yeah.
I knew we were gonna talk about that. When I was watching, like, Kevin and I are gonna have a conversation about this. They shoot it like it's one continuous scene, like one continuous movement. I think they do break it up, but it's so slick.
Yeah, the only thing that you have to know is
the
that
cleanest action they've ever done.
Yeah. That scene's fantastic. I can't wait to like rewatch that on video or like at home and just like dissect like, oh, exactly the movements that were going on there.
Yeah, and like how they stitched it together so it looks so seamless, and because there's a few shots where it like goes around a person or behind a person, like, that's where they could have spliced it. But yeah, no, it's really well done.
How did you feel about the soundtrack of this movie?
I was fine with it. I haven't been, to be honest, I haven't been quite as enamored with the musical parts of Guardians of other people. Like, I like the music and I'm like, oh, it fits well and whatever, but I haven't been as like, it hasn't been as crucial to the movies for me as I know it is for most fans of the movies. I do really like, and we're full on spoilers now, I do really like the final song they chose, the Dog Days Are Over, and how they kind of like signified, we're in a new generation of the Guardians by like switching the decade, and I thought that whole scene was really well done to that song, and the No Sleep Till Brooklyn Needle Drop was really good. But the rest, I was like, okay, sure,
okay,
like nothing jumped out at me. What do you think?
Well, something I do want to know from both of you.
Wait, what about you, Kevin? What did you think of the soundtrack this time?
It was fine, I guess. It was really funny because me and Elvis went after, what day was it?
You guys went on the second
Sunday?
day
So
of
Sunday?
the second day of our
Sunday?
Disney World trip.
And Radiohead's Creep was playing in the Uber driver's car. And sure enough, the movie starts with Creep. It was really...
I thought that was good too, actually, the use of Creep. Yeah. Creep and Dog Days Are Over were like the two highlights. Yeah, and No Sleep Till Brooklyn. Okay, so it was good. The music was good, I guess. It's like I'm saying like 3 out of like 6 songs, so I guess I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you gonna ask something, though, Angel?
Yeah, I've been really curious to know your thoughts, or just like in general. So, who is this Adam Warlock, and does he draw you a card every turn that you have more power on that lane?
I see what you did there. That was a reference to Snap. He was kind of underutilized.
He was.
in this movie.
He's not at all like how he is in the comics. Adam Warlock plays a pivotal role in the Infinity Gauntlet saga in the comics. What Infinity War and Game were like sort of based off on. He's sort of like a mastermind
credit
character.
scene in. I see.
And in here, he's played as like a not like a young child, but like a very naive, I guess, like teenager.
Yeah, and his mom's involved, and like, yeah.
Huh.
I couldn't shake the entire movie being like, oh, that kid was in Maze Runner. I don't know why. But every time he came on screen, I'm like, oh, the kid from Maze Runner. Like, who references Maze Runner in their day-to-day life except me, apparently?
So you're saying it's a benefit that I haven't seen Maze Runner?
Yes, very much so, because you'll go, oh, look, it's Warlock, and I'm going, oh, look, it's the kid from Maze Runner. So, Will Poulter or something like that, I think is his name. But
do they at least
not
make
the
that
main
potential?
kid either. He's a side kid. He's not even the main kid. He's a second-tier kid in Maze Runner. But anyway.
I mean, I'm guessing he's someone they're going to keep around for future movies?
Yeah,
so...
they definitely... It's interesting. They sort of end it... Man, we're really in spoilers. They sort of end it with, like, here's the next generation of the Guardians. By the way, they may not be back. Meanwhile, Star-Lord's confirmed to be back in some capacity, so who knows?
And what about BoJack Land? That's the last question I have. Was that just like a gag, or
was exactly what crossed my mind too? Was this is live action BoJack? Yeah. It wasn't a gag. It had some relevance. I mean, the visuals of it maybe were kind of a gag, but it had some relevance to the overall plot of what the bad guy was trying to achieve. I mean, how'd you feel about it, Kevin? Because it was definitely visually something.
What, the Counter Earth?
Yeah.
I mean, it looked a lot like Earth with just anthropomorphic animals.
Yeah, it was BoJack. Yeah. Fun fact about the movie: the most prosthetics used in any movie ever was in Guardians 3.
Yeah, although most of those anthropomorphic animals were really well done in that in Counter Earth. With the exception of like the clearly CGI ones, like the War Pig, and there's that other one there.
Yeah, it's funny how obvious it was that the prosthetic was the better choice with so many of those. I mean, the War Pig, it had a different body shape, so it kind of had to be. But like the rest, I was surprised as I was watching it how much I was like, wow, the prosthetic game is strong and the CG game is very, look at the prosthetic game being stronger, you know? Like it's very much like, here's a better over here and a lesser over there. But it wasn't bad.
It's almost like the prosthetics allow for a better suspension of disbelief, but...
Yeah, almost.
I mean... I guess it's more humane for the actors, obviously, you know, this at least
humane.
That positive. I mean, the people wearing the turtle suits, as much as I love them, like they were pretty much dying of like heat stroke, like every scene. So was it worth it? Oh, better not ask me that. But you know,
it sounds like you asked yourself. So tell us, was it worth it?
Better not ask me that. But you know, sacrifices were made.
Okay.
It's never worth heat stroke, but I am thankful they endured it because it was amazing, and I wouldn't ask them to do it again.
Yeah, I definitely put you in a weird spot to be like, is it worth people suffering for your enjoyment? And you kind of didn't say no. So
yeah, it's like, you know, they did it already, so bless them. But yeah,
bless their hearts. I will say, to be fair, the CG, I was being a little hard on some of the CG, like War Pig. The animals in Rocket's flashback and the other raccoons and stuff had amazing CG, I thought. Like, it looked... I mean, some of the animals were a little lesser, but the raccoons in particular were top-notch. Yeah. But yeah, that's, I guess, an impromptu Guardians discussion. You know, we did mention... in the middle of that we were in Disney World. And we was actually both Kevin and myself. Angel, you didn't go, but we did.
Had other things going on, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Well, what were you, before we get to what we did at Disney World, what were you up to while we were away? Anything cool?
I mean, I guess the main thing I did, I guess you could say, was a Yoshiki concert I went to at the Grammy Museum, which was really cool. And for those that don't know, I did talk about I guess that artist back in February when I went to go watch The Last Rockstars, which is when Red Swan came up, the song that I had mentioned that I really liked from the third season of Attack on Titan. And basically just that artist, because he's a renowned like concert pianist and like rock drum like composer. And he basically did an interview. They had like a sizzle reel, and then he played a couple of songs on piano with a quartet and a singer. And he did like an orchestral version of Red Swan and a bunch of other songs that I also really like. And it was quite magical. It was pretty amazing to see him play so close, up close and personal on this like crystal piano that is like completely see-through. And damn, I mean, yeah, I remember Jason had told me that the Grammy Museum is small, like 300 people isn't a lot of people, and the
It
venue
might be even smaller, to be honest. Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty awesome. And now it's like if another opportunity comes up where I even remotely like an artist that's going to be at the Grammy Museum, I think I'd be just down to go because that was a really cool experience. Even if I honestly didn't even expect them to play a lot, I thought it was just going to be like an interview and like an announcement, which they announced they're having a world orchestral tour at the Dolby Theater in Tokyo and England and New York. And he just so happens to be doing the Los Angeles one on the day before I come back from Japan this year. And I'm like, damn it, could have gone. But
that is the worst feeling. There are multiple concerts. I was like, oh, I'm going to go to that concert. And then I was like, oh, I'm flying back like the hour. Like Fall Out Boy and Bring Me the Horizon are playing at BMO or whatever it's called out here. Is it BMO now?
BMO Stadium. BMO.
BMO?
Yep.
Huh. Used to be Bank of California. Well, anyway, they're playing that concert venue. They're playing that stadium. And they're playing it literally as I'm like I would be flying over LA and seeing the lights from the stadium shooting up and being like, I could have been at that concert, but I'm in the air above it. So
yeah,
I feel your pain, Angel, is my point.
Not that I
the
didn't
worst
have
part is
fun.
that
Not that I didn't have fun in Florida, but I did miss the Man with a Mission concert. Man with a Mission being the artists that are currently performing the season's opening of Demon Slayer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they do my favorite Gundam opening. They also do. Did you ever see Inuyashiki?
Just Inuyasha, but not Inuyashiki.
Inuyashiki, the one about the old man who becomes a robot.
No.
No?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
But no.
they do the intro to that one. They do a couple of other. They did a My Hero opening. They've done a couple like anime openings. They played on the Monday that I came back.
So we've all felt this pain, Angel.
Yeah. And the only thing
We all can relate. We feel your pain.
The last thing I was going to say is that because I said it's the world tour, his performance in Tokyo is also like right before I go to Tokyo. So it's like I'm sandwiched between performances that I just missed.
But at least you guys see him at the Grammy Museum.
Yeah, I got to see him at the Grand Museum. Got to see him, in the... I already forgot the name of that concert venue I went in Hollywood in February. Palladium, yes, that one. Oh, wow. Thank you, Jason.
I got you. I got your back.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much that. And I mean, I guess I did also spend $500 in Lego sets. I got the Lego Art Great Wave, which I'll build as the Great Wave, admire it for a while, and then eventually I got the code for the little round pieces so that I could buy them in any color I want, so that I could, make custom art of Lego that I could hang, which will be fun to eventually do. And then I also bought the Lego grand piano because I really wanted the grand piano and I know the reason. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Are you getting the Pac-Man replica arcade that they announced for the Pac-Man's 43rd birthday?
Lego?
Yep, it was announced today. Or, well, today as of this recording.
Huh. Let me Google that. Could I?
It has a little crank, and if you turn the crank, it'll do a little, like the Ghost and Pac-Man move around the maze.
Huh. Pac-Man, Lego. And of course, yes, if you already guessed it, it is because Bowser plays Peaches that I got the Lego Grand Piano.
So you can have your Lego Bowser at the Lego piano.
Yeah, they're
Lego Peaches.
They're like in skill with each other. But I mean, it was already on my radar. This just like, tipped the scale. I was always kind of on the fence about it. Ooh, this arcade looks kind of neat.
It's literally the arcade machine version of the NES set they did. Like, it's the same kind of mechanics of, like, you crank it, it animates the game. And
it's about half the price
this one has a light, though. You could press a button and it lights up.
It's about half the price of the Grand Piano.
Yep, it's $269, which is the same price the NES set goes for.
Oh, it's the same price as the Bowser. The Mighty Bowser.
Yep, it's all like the high-end Lego price, yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
And also, happy birthday, Pac-Man. Doesn't look a day over...
Happy birthday.
I don't know. He's 43, apparently.
43 and me.
He's over the hill.
Yep. I already forgot what we were talking about. Oh, yeah, Florida. You guys went to Florida.
Yes, we did. We went down to Disney World, Kevin and I. Kevin, when's the last time you were at a Disney theme park? It's been a while.
California
right?
Adventure was
Before
still being
this trip.
built in Disneyland.
Okay, so it's been at least 2 decades, roughly.
Gee, that's a
Somewhere
lot
around
of process. That's a long time.
So what was your, having spent, so for everyone, for the listeners out there, we went to California Adventure, or, wow, no we didn't. We went to Disney World and we went to Universal's Islands of Adventure. We did Disney World for 2 days, so it was Epcot and on one day, and then Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom on the second day, and then it was Islands of Adventure on the third day, and then we flew out that night. Kevin, what was your thought being in the Disney World for the first time in 2 decades? How did you feel about the experience? What do you think of Disney theme parks?
Well, Epcot is really like a Disney theme park if you think about it.
Yeah, no, it's like a World's Fair but modern.
Yeah, so I can't really speak much to that one. But like Epcot was really cool. We went to the Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom was okay. We didn't really spend a lot of time there. And then the Magic Kingdom.
Oh yeah, you guys got a late start that day. That's right. Yeah, because we were up at like 7:30 there, like our half of the group.
And then the Magic Kingdom just seemed really small to what I thought it was going to be.
Which is funny because it's bigger than the one here.
Oh, really? Wow. Oh, interesting.
I think so. Or at least the same size, yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. Disneyland, Disney World isn't a place for me. I'm more of a Six Flags kind of person.
Right.
But like,
so
I still had
for Island of Adventure then. Yeah.
It was.
it sounds like
I went more to celebrate with friends than it was to go to Disneyland / Disney World.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the context for all listeners out there is a friend of ours and myself, we kind of made it like a birthday trip for the two of us. He was doing a birthday trip, and he was like, do you want to go? I'm like, my birthday's 3 weeks after yours. I'm just going to piggyback. And we both our birthdays, and that's kind of how it came to be. So, yeah, it was like a group of 6 of us for that reason, yeah. But, yeah, it was you know what's interesting is someone who has been to Disneyland repeatedly with the annual pass and who has been to Universal Studios here in LA recently for Nintendo World. It's very interesting how Disney World is just like, I mean, obviously you're like, oh, it's Disneyland, but it's bigger, right? Like, the name implies it. The thought is there. It's 4 parks instead of 1 or 2. Like, it sounds just like more of the same. But what I thought was really interesting is a lot of the rides there are literally just the rides here, but like thought through further. So like Space Mountain was built there a little later than here, I believe. So they changed the cart a little. Or like the newer rides, there's a great Guardians of the Galaxy ride called Cosmic Rewind. And there's it's kind of like what Space Mountain would be if you built it in the 2020s. Or like there's in the Animal Kingdom, there's Pandora, this whole world Pandora, which it's small, but thematically looks really cool. They managed to make it look like you have the floating land masses and stuff. And its signature ride is called Avatar Flight of Passage, something like that. And it's literally just soaring over California, which is out here in California Adventure. But instead of you being in a fake swing, you're sitting on the back of like a fake Banshee it's not a fake Banshee. You're sitting on a thing that replicates what it's like as if you were riding a Banshee in the Avatar world. So like, it's the same technology as soaring over California. Like you have the screen and you kind of dip and move in front of it, but they made it 3D and they put you on this Banshee that is basically this. I don't even know how to describe it. It's also you're on horseback, but you kind of lean forward. But then the machine that you're sitting on breathes. So it feels like you're really on a living creature. Like it pushes against your thighs in and out with like a rhythm of breathing. And when more exhilarating things happen, you can feel it like tense up. And when things get a little calmer, like there's a rest point, you can feel it kind of sigh. And it's actually kind of cool. But again, it's very much just like, oh, well, if you've done soaring over California and LA, do that. But instead of a swing, you're on like a fake horse. You've done Space Mountain here in LA. Well, go to Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind and like, it's kind of the same idea, except now the carts themselves can spin, you're not just going down a track, you're going sideways and stuff. So like it's just interesting. It's really cool and really fun, but it's really interesting to be there and sort of see how it's not even just a bigger Disneyland, but just like all these like sequel rides of sorts to rides you know and love. Like what would a Space Mountain 2.0 be? What would a California Soarin' or Soarin' over California be? And I wasn't really expecting that. I thought the rides would be kind of more unique in that regard. And some are. There's a fun Tron one. We should talk about the Tron one, actually, because that one that's interesting. But, yeah, I was surprised at how many of the rides, of the newer rides, were just kind of riffs on things we have that almost sort of make the things we had seem lesser by comparison, because now there's these souped-up ones down in Florida. Yeah, that's kind of my hot take of the whole experience. It's not a bad thing. It's great, and it's cool to be able to experience that. And the Guardians ride, I mean, I think that was the favorite of the group, right, Kevin? Like, we all love that Guardians ride.
I wouldn't say it was the favorite, but it was definitely the favorite one at Disneyland.
Yeah, oh, yeah, sorry. I mean, of Disney World. Yeah, no, I know what you're going to say next. Yeah. But before we get to what I think you're angling at, what'd you make of the Tron ride? Because that's brand
Way
new.
too
that
short.
Tron ride, yes. Yeah, it's like 30 seconds. But for context, for Angel, for listeners out there, that Tron ride,
Light run? Cycle run?
Light cycle /run. Light cycle, and then literally 2 backspaces for reasons unknown, and then the word run. It's been open 6 weeks when we went. Maybe 7? And you actually, like, ride a light cycle. Like, as a Tron nerd, I thought it was amazing. You actually, like, you get on. The roller coaster is shaped like the Tron bike. You sort of saddle in and lean forward on it. They do a not great job of explaining how to properly sit, because again, it's so new. So I was like very crouched over it, and then when I was doing the ride, I kept kind of trying to like crane my neck up to be able to see all the visuals. But then I looked at you, Kevin, and you were just sitting upright, and I'm like, oh, that's so much easier. And sure enough, when we did it the second time, so much easier. But yeah, you're like physically like hunched over this thing, and there were multiple people that couldn't actually, the way it's situated, just, it's not very accommodating. They're asking a lot of the rider to do that ride. Like you can't, some people just literally can't fit, and some people just like don't know how to sit properly. And it's one of those things where it's just like, you have to put in a lot of effort just to go on this ride that then ends up being about 30 seconds long. And it's a great 30 seconds, but it's like 30 seconds, right? Like roughly.
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't be worth like an hour wait. In my opinion.
And right now they have it. No, I agree. And right now they have it set up where you can do either a virtual queue for it. So at 7 a.m. or 1 p.m., just like if you've been out here to the LA park, you can go on the app, and if you're lucky, you get a time assigned. Or Disney now nickels and dimes, so you could pay about $20 to get a lightning lane, which gives you access at a time of your purchased choice. And we did that for Guardians, and we did that for Tron. So
20 lanes at a time? I mean, $20 at a time?
Yeah.
So per ride?
Yep. It's crazy, but then when you wait 75 minutes on Guardians and want to do it again before you leave the park, you're like, well, I guess I'm paying. Like and what really sucks about it, the people that do it while you're waiting in the normal line bypass you, of course. So you don't have a real good barometer. Like they are pretty decent at estimating, if they say it'll be 75 minutes, it'll be 75 minutes. But you're sitting there 10 feet from the entrance to the ride watching all these people just stream past you. And it seems like it doesn't feel as fair, quote unquote, as the old fast pass system where if you just came first thing in the morning and grabbed a ticket, you're good. Like it's literally like a pay to play sort of. It's paid DLC. It's What are those amiibo unlocks you hated? Was it in Zelda, Kevin? The ones that like you could unlock stuff?
Paid
only
quality
through
of
the
life
amiibo.
improvements.
It was that basically, but for rides. And we waited for Guardians. We waited the 75 minutes, and then we did it with Lightning Lane, and we were through it in 5 minutes, and it was amazing.
Oh yeah, it was so much better.
I know
don't get us
awful
wrong.
when. Oh, it's amazing. It's awful when you're on the free side. It's spectacular when you pay $20 a pop. And it's prorated, so it might be 14, it might be 17, it might be 20, but it's so great when you're on that side, yeah. But yeah, that's kind of the weird thing. I don't know where I was going with that, but that's kind of the weird thing is now everything is like a pay to skip. But I do think with Tron, if anyone listening wants to check it out, yeah, it's not necessarily worth the wait. Right now you can only do Lightning Lane or Virtual, and I highly recommend doing it at the end of the day. Because part of it is outside, and having it all lit up is pretty cool. And if you do what we did, Kevin and I had our own personal ride. We were one of the last groups to go at like 10 p.m. on a Sunday. So we got the front. We were the only two. Actually, no. Was there someone behind us, Kevin, in like a weird, awkward like third seat? I think there might have been.
Man, I mean, I wish I could have been.
But yeah, we basically had our own ride, and it was cool. Yeah. But yes, that brings us to the. Sorry, what was
go
that?
for it. I mean, I was only going to ask
I think we're
about Donald, but that's about it.
You know, we tried to get you a picture of us with Donald. He was wearing a sombrero, in fact, and we stood in line for it, and then he had to go take a heat break. And then when he came, and then we waited, and he didn't come back. And we're like, screw it, let's just go. And of course, the second we leave a line, guess who comes like sambaing down the like literally dancing back to his spot? Donald. Like literally 10 seconds after we got out of line. So we tried, Angel. We really tried.
Oh, much appreciated. But thankfully, I want to say it was my sister, or maybe it was no, I think it was my sister that brought me that Donald as a plushie with the poncho and the sombrero.
Oh yeah, we didn't get you anything, Kevin. We're bad friends. We didn't get Angel anything.
No. To be fair, I didn't get anybody anything.
Neither did I.
Elvis brought me back an Angry Donald pin and a chocolate factory or chocolate emporium.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna steal credit there. I was with Elvis when he bought that pin, so it's like I gave it to you. So you're welcome. I had nothing to do with the purchase. I just stood next to him when he did it. So
fair enough.
Yeah. So there you go. But yeah, Kevin, you were saying the ride that you think the group liked best. I'm guessing you mean the Velocicoaster at Islands of Adventure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Walk us through that. Talk us through that. Tell us about that.
Velocicoaster. So, we went to Island of Adventure at Universal Studios, right?
Correct. Yep.
We have the beat path. Like, it was the last place that we went to. While on there, we got on the Incredible Hulk coaster, which kind of lazy. They just call it the Incredible Hulk coaster. Like, it had no has no subtitle. Like, come on, we're better than this, guys.
It's not called like Incredible Hulk like Smash and
Gamma
or
Smash,
something.
Nothing. It's just the Incredible Hulk coaster. That's it.
Gamma Rush. No?
Gamma Rush. Gamma Rush is pretty good.
Thank you. I try. Radioactive Rush. There it is. Radioactive
nothing.
Rush.
It's just the Incredible Hulk coaster.
Not even the Incredicoaster? Oh, well, I think that's taken. But yeah.
Well, I think Disney might have a copyright on that one.
But they have another coaster at Island of Adventure called the Jurassic World Velocicoaster, and this might be one of my favorite roller coasters of all time. It's hard to explain what about it makes it so awesome, but essentially, think of like a high octane roller coaster, but instead of those restraints that like go over your head and like strap your shoulders in, you literally just have a lap bar and you're doing like all these corkscrews and turns that flip you upside down.
Well,
and that's what gives some of the rush
to the ride. It's a lap bar that has the shoulder pads, but it's not a shoulder strap in. Like it comes over your head. Yeah, just so people don't think you're just like dangling totally loose. It's not totally
No,
loose.
I said that. I said there was a lap bar.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like, there's the lap bars at Disney, which are just like literally a bar on your lap, and then there's these which have like the shoulder piece.
Did this have a shoulder piece? I don't remember it having a shoulder piece.
Wait, did it not?
No, that was sort of the point.
Oh. Huh. Well then.
I remember because when I
Did
got
it
on it with
feature
Elvis,
Velociraptors?
it does.
Yes, actually. Yes. In multiple ways. Yeah.
What are you saying about Elvis?
I know for a fact it didn't have the shoulder part because we challenged each other to keep our arms raised the entire ride, and so a shoulder would have stopped us.
You're right. No shoulder.
Yeah, it has no shoulder. That's what makes it. That's what gives it its rush. Like only a lap bar is keeping you from flinging off this ride.
And you go upside down, to be clear. Like, you're upside down over people on the ground, walking around.
Over water at some point.
A lap bar. And water. Yep.
Jason conquered his fear of being in the front of the ride this time.
Yeah, so, general thing about me, I don't really like big roller coasters in general. I've come around on them, no pun intended, because they go in circles. But no, I don't like the ones that, like, you get hit with, like, all these G's and you do a corkscrew and you feel like you're going to pass out. Like, I'm good without those. I don't need adrenaline in my life at that level. My risk-taking is a phone without a case, not doing that. So, it was. So I've slowly kind of worked my way up. Like, I could do Space Mountain just fine. We did Tron the night before. We were in the front of that. And that is a roller coaster where you're, like, on a fake bike. So I was, like, building towards it. But we get to Velocicoaster, and I don't know what to expect. I agreed to do it with you guys without really knowing anything about it because I was like, whatever. And then as we get there, it's like, oh, well, Jason, we're going to do the front of the thing. So you don't even have like you just have the track in front of you as you go through all these twists and turns and you go upside down and you like, there's, the lap bars all restraining you. And I was like, what? And, it took a little while, but eventually once it was clear that there's no corkscrews, I was just like, whatever, fine, I'll try it. Let's see how it is. And I'm very glad you guys pushed me because, it was super awesome. Like, it was really fun. To your question, Angel, they do have some theme. You don't really notice it because you're going so fast, but they do have a couple of Velociraptor, like, statues as you go through it. They have some, like, projections in the waiting area of, like, Velociraptors, like, chasing the coaster. So, like, they do, like, a hologram on a screen, basically, so as the coaster launches and you see raptors going after it. But it's just a really fun ride. Yeah. So I'm very glad you guys pushed me.
Yeah. And, as far as the trip goes, that's pretty much all we did, right? Well, I'm missing something.
Yeah, that's about it. I do think it's interesting if you were to compare. So, like, if you look at, I don't know, the Harry Potter section of Universal or, like, Nintendo World at the Hollywood one, those kind of feel a little more like Disneyland and World in the sense of they're pretty heavily themed. Like, if you look at, well, actually, no, they're more than what Disney World used to do. They're like what Pandora is. They're like kind of this next level theming. But what's interesting is a lot of the park of Universal, I thought, was like very lightly themed. Like, they had a Marvel superhero island, which is all like 90s Marvel comics. Marvel aesthetic of the 90s, bright colors, that whole thing. Like, it literally looked like it fell out of a Marvel cartoon. And it had a fun Spider-Man ride that does some hydraulics and fire and stuff. But for the most part, what I noticed with Universal that kind of struck me as interesting is outside of Harry Potter, they didn't really, like, it was themed, but it wasn't themed. Like, it's like, oh, you're in Jurassic Park, so there's some trees now. Oh, you're in Marvel, so there's some, like, buildings now. Like, it felt very more focused on the rides and the roller coasters and that in the older parts of Island of Adventure, while I feel like some of Disney's stuff just felt a little more like, you're just in it. Like, you're in the animal kingdom. You're on a safari. Now you're over here. And, so that was kind of an interesting contrast. But it kind of fits with, what you were saying, Kevin, about, like, some of them are more focused on, like, the rides and the type of ride, and some are more focused on the world building. And, like, Epcot, for example, barely has rides. It's just, like, little themed towns of every place in the world you could think of. So that was kind of an interesting contrast. But, that was pretty much the trip. There's another pretty fun motorcycle. Did you do the Hagrid one?
Yeah, I
Kevin?
did the Hagrid one.
That's right. That one's kind of fun too. It's only in Florida. It's in the Harry Potter part. So Harry Potter in Florida is interesting in that there's Hogwarts in Universal Studios Orlando, and then there's Hogsmeade in Islands of Adventure, and there's a train that connects the two, like in Harry Potter, platform 9 3/4 or whatever. But they're actually two separate parks. So you need two separate passes to do the two parts of Harry Potter. But they connect them with a special thing. So in the Hogsmeade part, they have this exclusive ride down there where you're also on a motorcycle, kind of like Tron, except you're sitting upright and there's a sidecar that someone else could sit in. And it's like, that I thought actually was pretty good at bridging the gap between a themed ride and a roller coaster. Like, that one was pretty fun. It has some roller coaster things. It has some unexpected things that I'm not going to spoil. But
it was neater than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I thought that was really, that was probably even more so than Jurassic World. Like, Velocicoaster did a great job of theming. Like, the waiting areas were really good. Like, everything was like themed up until the coaster, but the Hagrid one felt actually like themed all the way through, which was kind of cool. So, but I think that's about it for theme park stuff. Unless, Angel, do you have questions about any of our experiences at Florida?
I mean, I guess not too much. I mean, the only one I had asked Eric and Elvis, they couldn't answer because I guess you guys didn't go to wherever the Gringotts Bank was, but I guess you could take a Hogwarts Express over there or something. But
yeah, that's in the other park. Yeah.
That would have been it.
We also didn't get butterbeer.
Yeah, that was like the only thing I guess like if it tastes anything over there. But have you had the butterbeer here?
No, I've never been to the Harry Potter park here. I've never been to the Hogwarts, and I still haven't. Even in Florida, I didn't do it. So
wow, and you even have a seasonal pass or whatever they call it.
Yeah, so do you. And neither of us have gone back since we went to Nintendo World that one time.
But that all
I did do one of the Harry Potter rides outside of Hagrid when we were down there. I did the Harry's Escape or whatever it's called. That was interesting because it was sort of how do I describe this? So one thing Disney does quite traditionally in their parks, and they do it with newer stuff too. They do it with like the Frozen ride and stuff, is the dark ride, right? Like you're on a boat or you're on like a floating, moving thing on a track, and then like things happen around you with animatronics. They had an Avatar with Pandora with a really impressive Navi animatronic, and then a bunch of just nothing around it. But they that's kind of their signature thing. What Universal seems to have kind of done, I think like the Spider-Man ride was maybe the first pass at it, and then they really doubled down with Harry, is what if that dark ride like wasn't on a track and used some 3D stuff and had some like swinging around and, you're moving kind of on the Z axis as well as the X and Y, and like what would that feel like? And it makes a very different experience because the one thing I will say is the Harry Potter ride, I think, Kevin, you skipped, the Harry's Escape one. It was a really cool blend of physical, digital, like animatronics, real props, like smoke effects. At one point, they lift the seat you're in completely upside down. Like you are literally upside down, just kind of like bobbing around. Like it's on like a robotic arm. So really you're just going in kind of like a carousel of sorts on this robotic arm with other ones, but the way they move everything around you, and then they had this whole thing with the Dementors, that's all physical props, and it was really cool. And that's something that I guess in the LA one they can't fit as much physical, so it's more screens, but down there it was super slick. So that's something I think is really interesting that Universal is doing more of than even Disney, is they kind of, what if we did a dark ride but it wasn't just a boat on the water? What if it was like some way more elaborate thing that isn't just screens like the Transformers ride that we have in LA, but like actually like integrating, like Mario Kart, having now experienced more of Universal, the Mario Kart ride at Nintendo World kind of feels like a slowed down, like easier for kids version of one of these like Harry Potter or Spider-Man rides or something. And as a perspective I didn't have when we first went into that ride. Like definitely it still has some unique stuff with the AR and the 3D and stuff, but just kind of the ebb and flow of it is actually pretty safe, quote unquote, by Universal standards, which was interesting to kind of come to that realization. But yeah, I really didn't expect Random or Nintendo to become such a theme park heavy podcast since we switched over. Like we've been to so many things in the last like year, but here we are.
Well, so when are you going back?
Yeah. But wait, when am I going back? Oh, I don't know, dude. Florida was so hot and humid, so I'm good for a while.
Sounds like you're ready for a Christmas trip.
No, I'm good. I mean, Kevin, when's the next time you think you're going to go to a theme park? Or have you gotten your fill for the next 20 years?
I've got my fill for a while now.
That is fair. Yeah, I mean, we hit the ground running out there. Like, I did the math on my watch afterwards, and granted, I got there a few hours before you guys. Between the 3.5 days I was there, walked 50 miles. So, yeah, got my fill too for at least the next couple of weeks until we use all of our annual passes back out here. Yeah, but that was a lot about what Kevin and I have been doing. Angel, I see you have a movie on this list here.
I do. Randomly saw
Yes.
Wolfwalker. I think it's actually Wolfwalkers.
Is that the one on Apple TV, the animated one?
It is, and oh my god, I feel bad that I don't remember the name of the studio that makes it, but I should know because they also did Secret of the Kells and oh my god, Song of the Sea. Basically like very, very pretty looking movies. Like the production value. I mean, the production values are really great. I mean, it's traditionally hand drawn. I mean, you could definitely tell these are some very little computers, but this movie in particular has a very sketchy look to it. I don't mean sketchy as in like weird, just like you could literally see the basic shapes used to make up some of the animals, or I guess the wolves in this movie. Spoiler alert, there are wolves. But
I mean, it's only in the title. Do they walk, the wolves?
Yes and no. I mean, Wolfwalker, I guess, is more referring to, I guess, a person that can also turn into a wolf. But the wolves themselves don't necessarily walk like people. They walk like wolves. But I guess that's still wolf walking. Walking is walking. But yeah, this movie, I don't know. It's interesting because I guess I'd heard a lot about it over the last, I don't remember when it came out, 2021, maybe 2022. But it was on my to-watch list for a while. You know, just kind of revered a little. But I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it. It definitely felt like it had potential at many points, but it never really quite grabbed me at any like point. Like it never made me go like, oh man, I need to see what happens next. It kind of, I don't know, for a short film, honestly, how long was it? It felt long, but not in a good way. Like
it dragged.
It felt, yeah, it was an hour and 43 minutes. Okay, but yeah, it felt like it was 2 hours.
That's longer than the Mario movie, just for point of reference. That's
Yeah.
a decent length of a movie.
Yeah, I think it could have upped its pacing a little. It definitely felt like it took its time. Like I feel like we kind of got the point a couple of times. It's like, all right, cool, we're kind of ready to move on. But yeah, they just kind of sit on scenes for a while, and I get it. Like it may be in for like a slightly younger audience. And then I definitely did kind of get that vibe where, you know, not to say that, you know, movies for kids can't be enjoyed by adults, but you know, you could kind of you can have both. And it felt like this movie kind of just went for a very, very straightforward, very, very unfortunately predictable. Like there are certain parts where you're like, oh man, are they gonna go for this? Like, damn, but then they don't. Or like, oh man, are they gonna, like, is this? I'll just say it, like, is this death gonna hold? And then it doesn't. And you're like, you kind of know it's going to, but you're like, if it did, then it would almost like make make what you're kind of going through worth it. Because, you know, it feels like there has to be stakes, and it never really feels like they're much in danger. I mean, the general premise is that you have this daughter and father that move from England to Ireland, and the father is like a wolf hunter, and his job to kill all the wolves in the forest nearby because they're tormenting the sheep herders. But right away, kind of like almost immediately, you see sheep herders, and then wolves come out, but then the wolves don't ever try to kill any of the sheep, and then the sheep herder they do injure is healed almost immediately by these said wolfwalkers, you know, these people that turn into wolves. And then so they're like, oh, okay, so they're kind of there to protect them, but they're like not, they're basically harmless. It's like what you get from that, and that's like at the beginning. But then I don't know, everyone still acts super, I don't know, it's weird. It feels like there's a threat level where you're kind of confused, like, it almost feels like there's kind of an on-issue there. It feels like there's almost like a conflict just to have a conflict. I feel like they could have found some other way to really at least make it feel like they're really butting heads outside of we don't really understand each other. I don't know. I feel like the wolves and the people don't interact enough. And the story is mainly told through this young girl who wants to, is looking for adventure, but she's trapped in this town, like not being able to do much. So she kind of goes out to explore and tries to help her dad capture the wolves, but discovers the Wolfwalkers and, accidentally gets bitten. This is not really a spoiler. By one of the said Wolfwalkers, and then she has the ability to turn into a wolf. And then that was probably like the most interesting part of the dilemma, where it's like, oh, now she's a wolf too, and now her dad potentially has to hunt her. But that doesn't really go anywhere after a while. It's like a conflict maybe for one scene, and then that's kind of it. I don't know. It's like they have all this good drama they could like really explore, but then they just kind of don't. They're just like, oh, let's go back to keeping it simple. Like, oh, let's just go back to the one goal. And that sounds like I'm harping a lot on it, but visually it was amazing. Simple story. It gets the job done, but I was just always kind of feeling like, where is it going? I just kept asking like, oh, like where is this going? But then it just kind of gets there, and you're like, oh, okay, all right, that's fine. Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about the movie. It's been a while since I feel like I've been critical of an animated film, or maybe not. I don't remember the last time I talked about an animated film here. But this is one in particular that I was looking forward to, like, liking in the, like, oh, this is going to be another classic. Because usually the animated films that I hear a lot of positive feedback about, and when I watch them, usually I do end up agreeing with, the general feedback. But this one kind of didn't. This one kind of fell a little flat to me. Maybe others will like it. I mean, I would still recommend it, especially if you got kids. Like, give it a shot. But I don't know. I guess I was looking for just something a little more complex. Just a little bit more.
A little deeper, maybe.
Yeah, just a little. It left me hungry like the wolf, if you will. But that's about it.
Oh, look at that. I see what you did there.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my take on Wolf. I mean, yeah, Apple TV Plus. I finally did get to finish the first episode of Severance. I think I started the first episode months ago. So when I finished it, the last 30 minutes, I remember I was watching it with my brother-in-law and my sister. And then, like, this woman appears at the end. And then they both look at me. And I'm just like, uh-huh. And then they're like, do you know who that is? And I'm like, no. I mean, is that supposed to be her boss, I guess? Because I guess they introduced her in the beginning, but I had forgotten what she looked like.
Because it's been so long.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
and then then she has an expression that's like, oh, intrigue. I guess either she is not severed and they're just keeping an eye on him because I guess he's special for some reason, or she is severed and they just happen to live next to each other and they don't know.
I'm not telling you anything.
But
all I'm saying, Angel, is watch the whole show. In fact, every listener out there, Severance, excellent show.
Yeah, poor Ben, and like post-divorce with Leslie, I think that's like the
yeah, I don't think it's the same universe, but sure, yes.
Yeah, that's what happened after they split.
He leaves Pawnee and moves to a very cold, snowy city, and then he just lives a miserable life. Yep.
But the premise is cool. I mean, I don't necessarily feel like I have to rewatch the first half of the first episode, because...
Even though you literally didn't recognize one of the people, that's crucial.
Yeah, but I mean, I guessed who she was based on, like, I guess why they turned, like, and went, like, who do you think it is? But, yeah, curious to keep going. Definitely still engaged in this.
It is a good show. I really don't want to say more than that. I don't want to spoil anything. It's a good show.
Is each episode an hour long, or is it just like the first episode?
Yeah, they're about.
Well, I'll try not to split these up with a month-long gap in between.
You should watch them as like a single unit as they were released.
Yeah, if only it could be like Unicorn Eternal Warriors, which is another show I've been watching on HBO Max, which is a Gendy Tartakovsky show. And if you don't recognize that name, that's the dude that did Primal, Dexter's Lab, Samurai Jack, and a couple other things I'm blanking on. I guess we'll throw Hotel Castlevania in there. But, yeah, awesome animation. It's only 4 episodes in so far, but pretty much enjoying that. That has a lot of mystery and intrigue that I was kind of looking for in an animated series. But very interesting art style. It's almost like they really took a lot of inspiration from Astro Boy and Popeye in these character designs.
Interesting.
Yeah, like very thick limbs. Everyone looks like they're like ripped out from like all these cartoons. Like the main character straight up looks like Betty Boop. At least her head does. But yeah, pretty cool, pretty mysterious, very silent show. Like this is definitely not afraid to take its time, but not in a move it along Wolfwalkers kind of way. But yeah, I guess I ended up talking about a couple things. So
also, for what it's worth, for everyone listening, by the time they hear this, it's not on HBO Max. It's on Max because the name's changing over between us recording this and us posting this. I think it switches tomorrow.
Really?
So, I believe so. Maybe it switches Wednesday, but yeah, it's Max, the one to watch. Which I don't even know what that slogan means, but yeah, it's Max.
You want to watch?
No, the one to watch.
Oh,
that's the name. That's the slogan now. It's Max, the one to, because they're saying it's one unified app with Discovery and HBO Max, so it's the one to watch. But they're not using the Discovery name in any of the marketing, so I'm not really sure what that slogan's about.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I was saying before, I didn't think when we switched to the randomer format we'd have so much theme park talk, but also we do have Nintendo in our name, right? So I feel like we saved the biggie here for maybe our last topic. Is it our last topic? But Zelda. I mean, let's be real here. We can't be a podcast with Nintendo in our name and not talk about The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Like, this is the completion of the Holy Trinity, or I guess the Triforce, if you want to be true to the topic at hand. But like, really the trio of, like, big moments for Nintendo fans this year. Like, we got the theme park, we got the Mario movie, and now we've got what so many were expecting to be, like, the magnum opus of the Switch library, which is Zelda. I've been playing. If I'm not mistaken, I might be the only one so far. Is that possible? You two have not started?
Correct.
Yeah. Not
Sounds like there's more to that. Yeah. Would you like to elaborate, Angel? I hear that sigh. I hear there's a thought behind it.
Just been busy. Like I haven't even bought it yet. I ended up being a kind of an easy decision, but you know, when I talked about Resident Evil 4, I was very much looking forward to getting that game. Didn't even get that game when it came out. I've since bought it. I think I'm maybe 2.5 hours in. And that was like about a month ago, maybe a little more. Start to forget what I was doing, but I just don't really have a lot of time to just sit down and play a single player game.
Especially a lengthy one like this, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'd probably beeline it just like I did Breath of the Wild, and then go back and explore. But yeah, I figured like I'm gonna try to beat Resident Evil 4 first. I might try to do that during the Memorial Day weekend. Might have some time there, but at this point, you know, Breath of the Wild's not going anywhere. I mean, Tears of the Kingdom isn't going anywhere. I am getting more than enough entertainment from all the videos being shared on Korok's space program and all the crazy things people are building. But
yeah. Which to be clear, I'm not good at any of that. I have not crucified a Korok. I have not built a fire shooting anything. I've just been, the best I built was a little 4-wheel blank board that has 4 wheels. like I'm not good at that part. But
did you denounce
what about you, Kevin?
Zelda after Breath of the Wild, or after that one left a bad taste in your mouth?
Hey, say that again, I'm sorry?
Did you denounce this one after Breath of the Wild left you a bad taste in your mouth?
No, I just haven't had time to play it. I also haven't had time to play Snap, and you know how quick and easy that game is to play. Like, I've just been really busy.
Yeah, that's some serious. You don't have time.
Wait, but you do plan on playing it then?
Yeah, I'll pick it up for sure. I don't know how much time I'll put into it, but I'll pick it up for sure.
Well, to set the scene here for me, I've put in about 8 hours into Tears of the Kingdom so far. So I'm like decently, which by the way, take note everybody that said I don't play my games. I have put in 4 times the number of hours almost that Angel put into Resident Evil 4. I'm just saying. It can happen. I can play games, for real. But yeah, I'd say... Yeah, no, that's really what it is. And you know what was so frustrating is I was so ready to have a collective 10 hours flying to and from Florida to play this, except I couldn't get the game before I left. Like Best Buy, for whatever reason, the app was saying on Thursday, we flew out on Friday, on Tears of the Kingdom release day. The app was saying on Thursday, it's ready for pickup. So I'm like, cool, I'll go get it. Drive to Best Buy, and they're like, nope, that's an error. I'm like, oh, great. But then my flight left an hour before they opened on Friday. So I just had to watch people in the airport play it, of which there were multiple, including a child who was walking and playing and literally walked into a wall. So that's how engrossing Tears of the Kingdom is. If you are an 8 to 10-year-old, you will walk head on into a wall while playing. But for me, so once I got back from Florida, I put in about 8 hours so far. I'm like decently removed from the Great Sky Islands, which for you guys that haven't played is basically Tears of the Kingdom's version of the Great Plateau, like a sort of training ground with the new bells and whistles of the game. And at that point, you hop off once you're done and carry on into Hyrule itself. You just kind of hop off in a slightly more dramatic fashion this time around. But yeah, so already I do have a couple immediate takeaways now that I've had some time with the game that I did want to share. These are early thoughts, no real spoilers or anything. But really I think they kind of illustrate why this game feels like such a standout experience from the time I put into it, at least so far. Like for me, why it feels like a standout. And I think first and foremost, it's actually kind of fitting that we were just talking about Disney World. Because not just, but a little bit ago. Because when I was trying to figure out how to best describe to you guys what Tears of the Kingdom actually feels like, it's not just as Majora's Mask as it initially seemed. Like, I still stand by my pre-release comparison I was making here on the show that, like Majora, the developers here got a little weird and wacky, with the building crazy vehicles and stuff and kind of putting that on top of familiar gameplay. That's very Majora-like. But you know what it actually feels like in practice? This is the Disney World to Breath of the Wild's Disneyland. Like, in every way. Like, take the new gameplay systems. In the same way, as we were discussing before, that, like, the Avatar ride, Flight of Passage is like Soar in Over California 2.0, or the Guardians ride, what is it called? Cosmic Rewind is kind of like a Space Mountain 2.0. We've got, like, the original, like, the foundational systems of the originals of all these things, Zelda, those rides, whatever, and they're just completely blown out. Like, the idea of collecting items to cook recipes, boom, now every object you can collect can be mixed and matched into weaponry and stuff. Or, you're used to grabbing objects with the Sheikah Slate's magnet, right? And in theory, and as we've seen some clever people do, you can do some rudimentary physics stuff with that and build a couple of rudimentary things. But here, now go all in and just build things and like actually attach them to one another. Or stasis, the idea that you could freeze things in time in the first game. Now you can rewind that. Like, it just felt very much like they took what was there and just went further than you would have expected. And even the lay of the land. Like, if you've been to Disneyland and Disney World's Magic Kingdom, as we were kind of, I think actually weirdly, I'm the only one that's done both among the three of us. And then I went out there listening. Like, they have a lot of the same attractions and landmarks, but things are just different enough that they each feel kind of fresh. And with Hyrule, it's a very similar feeling. Like, it's familiar in layout, but also quite different in execution. You've got, like, construction materials everywhere to build items. The towns I've encountered so far are different. And then on top of that, you can do the Zelda equivalent of essentially what's park hopping at Disney World, which is, you can head up to the sky, head down into caves. All of them feel organic to the game and utilize a lot of the same systems you're familiar with. But they have unique personalities, they have unique environments, just like, kind of like going to Epcot or Animal Kingdom would. Like, they're still clearly Disney, but they're kind of a little different. It's familiar, but at the same time, not so familiar. And even in the early stages of the game that I'm in, everything just feels bigger, feels more extravagant, feels more elaborate. Like, Tears of the Kingdom seems to take every idea from Breath of the Wild that I thought was kind of self-contained and as far as it would go, and just goes where you didn't think it needed to go. Like with the Disney World comparison again. Like, I was saying you take a ride on Space Mountain and it's like, okay, well, there's these individual coaster cars and you're kind of locked and you just go down a roller coaster. And you as a rider wouldn't necessarily think you need more than this. But then the Imagineers kind of took the ins and outs of that initial mechanic of Space Mountain and just kind of ran with it. And they're like, hey, what if the rides, like your cart suddenly can swivel left and right too, and you're spinning around as well as going down a track? Boom. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Like, that's what Tears of the Kingdom kind of feels like. And to some degree, I guess what I'm describing is sort of what a lot of sequels are able to do, especially late in a console's life. Like, once developers are familiar with an engine or a platform or what have you, they're more free to play around in ways that they couldn't initially imagine or make happen. It's kind of the developer mindset version of how like a big game late in a console's life is more likely to debut to higher sales, right? Like the install base, the foundation of the console, it's just that much more solidified. So you can have that bigger sales. That means more people can maybe have dabbled in the first game and now want to buy the second. And, you know, sure enough, Tears of the Kingdom is proof of this thought. I mean, Nintendo put out the other day, it sold 10 million copies in the first 3 days. Fastest selling Zelda game of all time. Fastest selling game in North America that Nintendo's ever put out. Like it's doing wonders. But where I think Tears goes beyond just doing what a sequel does or just building on the foundation is, again, similar to kind of what Disney World's able to do beyond Disneyland. And it's not just more of the same or the same but bigger. It's just surprising me in how it goes bigger. Like the first time I rode, there's these things called Zonai wings, and they're like a type of one of the things you can use. And you know, I'm riding on this flying thing. And I see the entire Sky Island, Great Sky Island below, and it was really cool in a way that the flying stuff in Breath of the Wild hasn't been. And it's not like I expected or wanted like a cool thing in the sky. It was just like a really cool moment, or like, you know, the ways I've mixed and matched weapons using the fuse ability. Like that opens up a whole new set of ways to tackle enemies or bokoblin camps or whatever. But it still has that same cool feeling as when you did in Breath of the Wild for the first time and you use the physics to your advantage. You're like, whoa, that's neat. It feels just as organic here as it did there, even though technically it's an entirely new system, the fuse system. And I think in many ways, what I've already experienced in Tears of the Kingdom makes Breath of the Wild almost feel like a proof of concept or something. Like it feels like, to go back to the Disney parallel, it's similar to how like if you go on Disney World's newer rides, it makes Disneyland ones feel like that's when everyone was just figuring stuff out for the first time. And the Imagineers were, just like the developers were with Breath of the Wild. And there's fun to be had in that simplicity. But there's something about Tears of the Kingdom so far that just feels more like final, or like more of a fuller picture, or just very cohesive in how it blends like what you know from before with these new things you didn't. And I know it sounds like I'm just like straight up gushing at this point, and to a degree I am. Like the game makes a very good first impression in these first 8 hours or whatever. But I just didn't expect everything to mesh so smoothly, so quickly. Like obviously, you know, the Sheikah slate in the first game primed the pump a bit for what now the Pura pad can do in this one. So, yeah, like it's not like it's out of left field, but the freedom that comes with your ability to, you know, grab any objects and actually build things with the Ultra Hand. That's such a step up. Or like, you know, travel to heights you previously wouldn't even think of being able to explore because of the Ascend ability, or even rewind things to sort of reverse engineer solutions. Like it's been really cool so far, and I'm just starting to really get comfortable in learning these systems and how they kind of work. But it also, these systems, and this is my second point I wanted to raise, it does create an experience that makes me feel very smart when being very dumb. Like, even in the Great Sky Islands, like the training grounds, I found myself going to the wrong shrine initially. I accidentally forgot that I need to cook my spicy peppers to properly be insulated in the cold. I overshot that flying Zonai wing thing I was mentioning, past where I was supposed to land it. Like, you name it, I probably did it. I probably screwed up every way you could. And I'm pretty sure I'm playing the game completely wrong from how the developers wanted me to play. Like, even when I got down to Hyrule, I could see little, like, nudges with things like exploding barrels next to the bokoblins and stuff. And that's probably what they want you to do, shoot the barrel, blow them up, like in the first game. But I was over there building my little four-wheel plank board and Mad Maxing my way into enemy camps, taking, like, a bunch of unnecessary damage because I was being dumb and was messing around and just trying things. And you know what? It all worked. All the wrong moves I made still panned out in the end because I think the new systems feel so organic and native to the experience that Breath of the Wild first made, that it just, like, there's just ways to overcome everything. You can just get done what you need to get done. And certainly there are times where I was second guessing what I was doing or thinking I would get stuck. But everything is just so, I don't know what word I'm looking for, I guess cohesive, that overcoming the way the game wants me to play in favor of whatever wacky idea I thought was the right way to play is really rewarding in and of itself. Even if I'm doing it totally wrong, it still feels so right. Like it, and that's really cool. And I'm really curious to further explore that as I get further in the game. Like, you know, as I advance into dungeons with deeper puzzles or more of the shrines or what have you, like how reliant is the game going to become on specific abilities or methods? Like right now, the Ultra Hand seems to be my go-to for puzzles. Ascend seems to be my go-to for traveling when it's applicable. Rewind, by comparison, it's not getting much use from me. But is that by design? Like, is that just because I'm not thinking like quote unquote cleverly enough to maximize the potential, or like Fuse, for example. Like so far that's the most obvious, like you need to use this here now type of ability to get the right type of weapon or item for the right moment. But like, will that open up to alternatives? Are there alternatives I haven't thought of? Am I even doing that wrong? Think I'm doing it right? Like there's a lot of questions early in the adventure that I'm kind of curious to see like how these unfold. And what's crazy to me is that in any other Zelda, sans maybe Breath of the Wild, you know each of these abilities will get their fair shake. Like there's always gonna be a corresponding dungeon or whatever, right? Like in a normal Zelda game, you get a new ability, you get a dungeon, on you go. Like anytime something really new is integrated, it gets its spotlight. And with Breath of the Wild, because all of it was new, is kind of a different ball game. Tears of the Kingdom, though, like that's sort of a hodgepodge of the two, right? Like we've got new abilities intermixed with existing systems, and through my clever and in my stupidity approaches to things, I have no idea if I'm playing how the developers intended or not, or envisioned. I have no idea if I'm using the systems or items as intended. I have no idea if there's even a right or wrong way. But honestly, the fact that nonetheless the game feels so seamless and fun so far, like that may be the biggest testament of all. I don't know what I'm doing, but it's working and it's a blast, and it's carrying me at least through these early days with the game. So I'm really curious if that holds, like that kind of free form approach where all these new systems integrate really well. But obviously it's too early to say. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now with the game. It's a lot of fun, and I usually prefer more linear stuff, but it's just really fun to just like there's really no wrong way to play so far. So I'm very curious how much I can stretch that. But yeah, that's about it at this point for what I have to say about Tears of the Kingdom. Like I said, I'm only 8 hours in, so still a long ways to go if I even get there.
Can't wait to hear your progress at 16 hours.
Yeah, I think, well, I might make it 16. I heard that chuckle. I think what's actually going to be interesting is when you guys finally get a chance to play, having that deeper conversation, like discussing, one, what I find to be maybe answers to those questions, but two, what your guys' experience is and, your pros and cons. If the freeform thing works for you, if there's certain strategies you use, like I was saying, I lean on the Ultra Hand a lot, or you guys go lean on the Ultra Hand a lot. Maybe you prefer something else. Like, I don't know. But, as a starting point, it's really fun. And it's also incredibly polished. There's some interview that Anuma did, the producer did, I think with the Washington Post, and he was saying the game was basically done in March 2022, and then he spent the entire next year polishing it. And I haven't encountered any unexplainable weird physics. I've encountered any graphical glitches, maybe been a little bit of slowdown when using the Ultra Hand once in a while, but like it's, in comparison to Nintendo's last flagship game, in comparison to Scarlet and Violet, this thing is smooth as butter. So, yeah. There's like actually one odd thing. There is occasional graphic pop-up off in the distance of things. But besides that, it's incredibly smooth. So yeah, I'm curious kind of how it all shakes out over time and what you guys think when you get a chance to play it.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. But
yeah,
I guess we'll just have to wait a little longer. Hopefully not that much longer. But yeah, definitely excited.
I mean, the good news is after Pikmin 4, I don't think there's anything coming to the Switch. So you'll have time.
Oh my god, Pikmin. I forgot about that one. When does that come out?
July 26th or something.
Okay. I should be done with... See, that's the thing now, because I would rather... Yeah, I would definitely give Pikmin priority over Zelda. So if I'm done with Resident Evil 4 by then, around that period, I would definitely play Pikmin first, which at this point is fine. There's plenty of Zelda content for everybody. And, if you wanted Zelda by now, you would get Zelda. You would have already had it.
Yeah, it is interesting that, like, if you look at the Switch lineup, it's like it's bookended by Zelda, right? Like, it launched Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom's kind of one of the last big games. And then there's like this weird amendment at the end of the book that's just like, oh, also there's a Pikmin game. Like it feels, I don't know. It definitely feels like Zelda's the one that's stealing kind of the Switch's final momentum here. And Pikmin will just kind of be there.
And it's not even like the end of the year. Like, I mean, I hope it's not the best thing to come out this year, but probably is going to be the best thing for Nintendo to come out this year. It
seems like Nintendo's... there's no way that anything's going to top this, but unless they do a surprise Mario game or something.
Well, Pikmin can still top it somehow. It just has to be difficult and not a cakewalk like the last one was. Sans DLC.
I'm just glad Pikmin still, like... I just want the merch from Japan to come here. I want those Pikmin flower pots. And if Pikmin 4 needing to be difficult to keep the fans happy and sell well is what it takes... Make it as hard as it can be, I guess. But
yeah, if I want to shadow drop like a Mega Mix port of Rhythm Heaven to the Switch or something, I just hope that doesn't
it sounds
die
like they're
on the
not even going to have
3DS.
It sounds like they're not even going to have a June Direct. Is the rumblings. So I don't know what Nintendo's cooking up.
Well, they should drop it
I mean,
whenever.
it's interesting. They had their financials come out since our last episode, and they're basically like, we don't know what's going to happen. We're in uncharted terrain, which they said before, but the difference is now the numbers are coming down. Like, they missed their estimate for Switch sales that they already lowered twice. They only missed it by 500,000, but they still missed it. And now they're lowering it again for this coming year. It's going to be 15 million. It was 18 million. Before that, it was 20 million. In between, it was 19 million. But it keeps coming down. And it is sort of dragging them down. They're making a ton of money off their IP stuff. They're making plenty of money off, stuff like Zelda and the Zelda edition Switch, the OLED boosted the Switch sales on the NPD chart in April. They have stuff to carry them short term. But it sounds like they don't have a whole lot going on long term.
What you saying?
No, it's not dead, but we're hitting that
Literally
wall.
everyone has one already, so they're not making as much.
Kind of. I don't know if it's going to pass PS2 anymore. There's a lot of talk they could sell 150 million of these things. It could be the best-selling system ever. It could pass PS2. It could pass DS. The momentum's, unless Zelda does crazy numbers, it seems like the momentum that the Mario movie and Zelda are giving it is not going to be enough to really carry because they don't seem to have much else. I mean, literally in their financial slide deck, the big thing, they highlight their big new releases to tell investors, look, we got you covered. We got Zelda. We got Pikmin. We have DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And that was it. That was the list. I feel like DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is not, yes, it will help sales, but that's your blockbuster big holiday thing. I don't know. It's strange. It reminds me of the end days of the Wii, where Skyward Sword came out, and then it just kind of pitter-pattered to its death. So, again, there's a lot Nintendo could do with the Switch. They have yet to ever do a real price drop. They can bundle stuff. They can, for the holidays, do some sort of Mario thing, again, like they did before the movie came out, but make it cheaper. There's plenty they could do. The system is still selling. 15 million, as they project, is still a lot of systems. But it is losing momentum. And, the games that come out Zelda's side are losing momentum. I did some comparisons back when the financials first dropped, back when it was a week ago. But if you look at, kind of side-by-side current Switch releases versus ones in the heyday, and this isn't all just because of sales. There's other factors like the game quality and stuff. But Fire Emblem Engage, its first quarter sales were a third less than what Three Houses saw in its first quarter. Or Bayonetta 3. That sold 1 million copies. That's great. But the port of Bayonetta 2 from the Wii U also sold 1 million copies. So the original game, barely, it's 1.07 million versus the port doing 1.04 million. And you would think with the install base the size the Switch has, it would get a little more momentum. Or even Mario Strikers. It's not the all-time best-selling Mario Strikers game, the Battle League. Mario Tennis Aces and Mario Golf Super Rush or whatever it was called were by now the best sellers of their respective franchises. So they're still doing well and things are still good, but it's slowing. And what that slowdown means is who knows? Because clearly they're starting to focus a lot of effort on whatever the next Switch is. But I don't know. I don't know what that's good. It's a very weird time. Nintendo, it's been a great first half of the year for Nintendo. As a fan, this has been one of my favorite times being Nintendo. There's so much cool stuff. But, games, movies, theme parks. But, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Even Nintendo Live, it sounds like they're not going to announce anything there. It sounds like it's just going to be promoting existing evergreens. So it's kind of again, all right, are we just sort of waiting it out? I don't know. So we'll see. I wasn't planning to get into any of this. I just started riffing, I guess. But but yeah, we'll see what it turns into. But it's definitely an interesting time to be following them.
Well, guess we can only hope.
Yep. Yeah, but I think that. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about, Nintendo or otherwise, or should we just end with Tears of the Kingdom?
Yes, I might just end with Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, end on a, I guess we could call it a very positive note on the game, and kind of a ominous note on the financial,
on the company. I mean, they'll pull through. It's just short term what happens, really. But yeah, no, the thing with Tears of the Kingdom, it was very glowing. I realized, and it's simply because I haven't reached the point where, like, I've seen debates online about like, oh, is Link overpowered, or oh, is like this, that, or next thing, and maybe, but I'm not there yet where I have those concerns. I'm just enjoying the experience at this point. So,
damn.
Because there's a lot, those powers, there's a lot you can do with the Purapad. Like, you could argue he's overpowered, but I'm not there yet, so we'll see. But anyway, okay, well, if that just about does it, I guess I'll jump into the show notes to wrap up the show. So as always, to make sure you don't miss a future episode, which just as a reminder to everyone out there, now happens every other Tuesday, not every other Sunday. You can subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music. You can find us on YouTube at Ram Nintendo, which is also where you can find us on Twitter at Ram Nintendo. Individually, I'm on Twitter at JSR7. Kevin's on Twitter at KVNGomi. Angel's sort of on Twitter at WEIRO_O, which is Wero. But if you want to see his thoughts and things, he now combines them with art and puts them on an Instagram, which is World of Wero, no second O, no underscore, just WEIRO after World of. Is that the right pitch at this point for you?
Yeah, that sounded great.
Perfect. Yeah, I need to spell it out backwards because, make it international. People that read right to left and left to right can now understand. So, yes, I think that just about does on my side. I'm going to let you guys fight to the death for the final word. So I toss it to both of you.
Congratulations, Angel. You win the final word. Yay.
Oh, thank you. I'd like to thank Elvis.